Greg Berhalter is set to give us his 26-player list for Qatar on Wednesday. But before we get the actual national team managers list, Herc, I want your 26-player list for Qatar.
This is who
what do
I
you mean,
think,
not yours?
This is who I think Berhalter would choose.
No. What is your 26-man list, no?
My 26-man list didn't even make the 55-man list, so I don't know what you're talking about. But these are 26 people that I think Greg Berhalter is going to call up to the World Cup.
Okay, the excuse, here it goes. Okay. What we think Greg Berhalter will do.
Correct.
So we don't have to put our opinions out there. Go ahead.
Well, no, it's my opinion on what I think he will do. Is that how it works? Because if I put what I want out there, well, it's just fantasy land. It won't happen, so it doesn't matter. As you can see, there would be no John Anthony Brooks on this list if it's what I wanted to do. We'd have some made-up funny man list. All right.
What was your toughest decision?
My toughest decision, there were two. My toughest decisions were the center back decisions.
Okay.
And then when you talk about one midfielder and the wingers. But
okay. So let's start with the center backs. You went with Walker Zimmerman, Aaron Long, Mark McKenzie, and Cameron Carter-Vickers. What was a tough choice there for you?
Well, that Chris Richards apparently is still injured and won't be anywhere near healthy, so he's out of the equation.
We know how you feel about injured players. If they're not 100% fit right now, tough to count on them.
I mean, Chris Richards still not even training in any capacity, so it's tough to say that he will be ready in 13 days.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
With Chris Richards being out, that means for a lot of fans, it'd be a tough pill to swallow, but it'd be Aaron Long next to Walker Zimmerman. So who do you go with there? And everything Greg Berhalter has told us, the wanting to play a high line, deploying that high line and the type of center back that he needs. Well, I had to eliminate John Anthony Brooks because he eliminated him. I had to eliminate Tim Ream because you can't play Tim Ream in a high line. So that left me with Cameron Carter-Vickers and Mark McKenzie. Aaron Long, yeah. I mean, as much as the other two, for sure. I mean,
what about up top, Herc? That's another big decision for Greg Berhalter. You think he's going to leave Jordan Pefok out? Why?
I do. Because Greg has shown us that he doesn't value Jordan Pefok or what he brings to the table. Jordan Pefok's the only striker in this pool, and it's crazy to me that never went cold. You could say, well, he went cold at the Estadio Azteca. That would be probably the only moment you saw him go cold.
He's cooled off a little bit, no, in the last couple of weeks after the great start to the Bundesliga season?
Compared to every forward on this list, he never went cold. And that's a reality. You could say Josh Sargent went cold. You can say Ricardo Pepi went cold. And he did. Jesus Ferreira went cold. Jesus Ferreira, when his team was down in the playoffs and they needed a goal, his head coach, Nico Esteves, put him as a 10 and as attacking playmaker and put a Franco Jara, playing Franco Jara, who's like 35, 36 years old, around that age, who had 3 goals all season. So this player is the only one out of all the players in the pool, all the forwards in the pool, that's been consistent, and he won't be there, and that pains me.
Herc, you got goalies. You got 3 of them on this 26-player list. You've got no Ethan Horvath. How'd you decide that?
Yeah, that was a tough one between Ethan and Sean Johnson because thinking about what Greg will value, and especially what you should value when it comes to making decisions about a third goalkeeper is chemistry within the locker room, those glue guys, what kind of leader do you have, et cetera, et cetera. But it's so difficult because Ethan Horvath has done nothing but be there when called upon. I mean, the hero, the heroics of the CONCACAF Nations League final where he comes on, you know, for Zach Steffen, an injured Zach Steffen, to literally do a walk-off penalty kick save to win the game against Andres Guardado, Mexico's captain. It's so tough to leave a guy that's so likable like Ethan Horvath off this list, but I think this is what Greg will do.
Okay. Was there a big snub for you? Was there was it Pefok maybe? Was there a player who for you just felt like, man, if I had 27, this is the extra guy that I would have taken as I was doing the math?
Well, Pefok is the obvious name.
Okay.
Just because I think he's a player is a goal scorer, and you're gonna be in need of a player to come off the bench and maybe be a guy who can get on the end of a cross, be a guy who could be lethal in a set piece, be a guy in transition, could do well for you. Different facets of the game when they're required, he can be that guy when called upon. But it's Jordi Mihailovic.
Yeah.
And it's because of the injuries. Weston McKennie right now is injured, and I know he's got that Wolverine blood in him, and he comes back faster than normal. But Luca De La Torre is not there. You saw what the U.S. men's national team.
Is that why Luca De La Torre is not on your list, by the way? Is that an injury omission and not a form or talent omission? Because at one point you said He was
Absolutely.
99.99% to even start a game.
He's training by himself right now. He's not fully integrated with this club. I don't anticipate him to be healthy enough for the World Cup, which is a shame. I thought he would be one of those players who contribute. But you saw how bad the U.S. men's national team was against Japan and against Saudi Arabia in that midfield when they didn't have Yunus Musa. So a player like Jordi Mihailovic being in that midfield gives him a touch of class, a touch of skill, the element of being able to take the ball from point A to point B to point C, creative enough to get in and out of tight spaces and create for himself and for others. I just thought that was a gimme. I thought that's a player that you'd like to have up your sleeve if needed. And it's a shame, but discussions that Jordi's had with him, because he's disclosed those publicly, haven't been necessarily to his liking or for him to feel like he's going to get that call-up.
So one name that does surprise me, Herc, on your list is Malik Tillman, who seems to have been like a real bubble player. He kind of got cold there, but maybe you got him heating up and then making the squad. One name that I do see is missing from your defenders, and I don't know if this is you're projecting that the injury that he's got right now could carry into the World Cup, or if it was just an oversight because we did these kind of quickly. No Serginho Dest. So assuming that we do get Dest in there, who are you taking off of your list of defenders?
No, I have Dest in there. That's an oversight. It should be
that's
Dest
a graphic oversight
then.
then. Okay.
Dest should be there. Dest is there, and you could take off Reggie Cannon if you'd like. Dest is there.
Okay, all right, because we got 26 on this list. So so Reggie Cannon then is the odd man out there.
Yes.
Wow, look at that. Put him on the team and then took him off the team.
But more than you hit it with Malik Tillman. You and I spoke about this when Malik got a call up, about the conversation Malik had with Greg Berhalter and how it leads me to believe like you don't do this switch so early on. You don't declare yourself U.S. men's national team eligible unless you had a talk with Greg Berhalter, and unless I don't want to say was an assurance, but you had a feeling by the way you were being spoke to that you had a legit chance of making this roster. And if you feel you had a legit chance of making this roster and you get some playing time and then suddenly you make a move and you're Europa League ready and you start scoring some big goals and you have the national team coach talking about you, that leads me to believe he's going to be that guy in there.
Can I get a look at the list again? Because I got one more question for Herc. It has to do with the MLS players on this list. Because there's some MLS guys who are definitely on the bubble that you put in the team. Christian Roldan, Paul Arriola, Jordan Morris. Of those three guys specifically, who is most on the bubble for you?
Jordan Morris.
Okay. I agree with you there. I think he's got probably the weakest case, right? Of the guys that you put on this graphic to make the team.
Yeah, and it's tough because you're trying to go by what Greg Berhalter has shown you. And listen, some of Greg's favorite players have fallen off throughout the World Cup qualifying cycle. Guys like Sebastian Lletget. So there's still room. There's going to be a couple surprises. There always is. But if you think about what Greg Berhalter has shown us, I think this is a pretty accurate list.
All right, just to be clear, that is Herc's guess at what Greg Berhalter will give us on Wednesday, not what Herc would do if he was in charge of the national team.
You see John Anthony Brooks and Jordan Pefok there?
Many people in the YouTube comments would like that. They would like you to be in charge of the national team. But for now, it's still Greg Berhalter, and we will get his list on Wednesday in New York City.